So let's talk about good football, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Thursday night, we got it going on. Broncos at Chargers. Now, this feels like a playoff game. In a lot of ways, it kind of sort of is. I mean, if the Broncos win, they're in. Chargers win, they're likely in. They need a little bit more help. But both of these teams right now, if you look at the wild card standings, they're both vying for wild card spots. We know they're not going to win the division because of some dude named Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Andy Reid. I don't know. So that division's over. But these two teams feel like they're going to be in the postseason. As you look at this game on Thursday night, how do you sort of break it down? Give me some predictions.
Well, I think on paper, people are expecting the Chargers to win, which, I mean, okay. But, I mean, I don't really know much about the whole percentage betting, whatever. That's not really my realm. But I think, these teams saw each other earlier this season, week 6. And Bo Nix struggled a little bit. It seemed like since then, I'm going to start with that. I'm going to start with the Broncos side. Yeah. So Bo Nix, it seems like he's settled in a little bit since that week 6 performance. He didn't have his best game last game as well during the Colts, but I think that he is in a situation where he's seen enough football, he's taken enough reps where he kind of knows what to expect now, and playing the Chargers already, he's going to come in having some familiarity there. But when he's playing well under pressure, he's completing passes, he's driving the offense, and we've seen him do that in week 14, I think. But you want to see that kind of Bo Nix here, because if the Broncos win, they're in. If they lose, there are a couple scenarios where they can still get in. Trying to read my notes here. My goodness. But yeah, they can still get in if they beat the. Wow, they can get in if the Bengals, Colts, and Dolphins lose. But the Broncos can clinch if they win. So I think it starts with Bo Nix there. And then Justin Herbert, you look at the other side with the Chargers, he's dealing with an ankle sprain. Right. It seemed like when the media was talking to him about it, all the questions were about his ankle sprain, his brace, how things are feeling. And sometimes I get so frustrated with that. You can see it on his face, too. He's like, it's not even a factor to me anymore. That guy in particular, he's going to play through anything. Oh, absolutely. So, I'm looking at the QBs to start. But, they are at 6th and 7th, respectively. So it is a game where clinching can happen. And I think, the Broncos, they won 4 straight, but they were against teams with losing records. And then the Chargers dropped the pass to some guy named Pat Mahomes. That dude. And the Bucs. But yeah, I mean, this is a game that they wanted to prioritize, obviously, for Thursday. So it's going to be a good game. Sounds like you're leaning Chargers, if I'm reading these tea leaves right. Yeah, I think I'm going to go Chargers just because, I have a little respect for Herbert. I mean, Bo Nix has done well, but he's young. I think he's 24. I'm 25. So when I think about that mental age being out there on the field, that takes a lot to balance, first of all. But I don't know. I think I'm going Chargers. I'm definitely going Chargers. Okay. And I know you're not big into the betting thing, so I just don't really know much about it. Well, listen, as a resident degenerate gambler here on this program. There's the armchairs. Yeah, I feel like it's my responsibility to let you know. I rolled the dice on this Chargers team 2 weeks ago against the Chiefs, and I was wrong. I was burned on that bet. Yeah. I thought for sure they were going to win that game. I took my chance, and what I predicated it on was, okay, the Chargers have a brand at this point of absolutely choking down the stretch of an NFL season. This is what they've done since I was a child. Okay, this is their brand. They choke, kind of like the Cowboys. They choke down the stretch of a season. And I felt like, okay, Jim Harbaugh's here now. This team's tougher. Herbert's awesome. You covered all that. So I'm like, this is a time when they're going to win the games that they traditionally would lose. Okay. So I'm going to take a shot and bet against the Chiefs. And just like so many who have come before me, Natalie, when you bet against the Chiefs, you lose. Okay, that's how that goes. You lose. Damn. So I lost that bet, but I walked away from that game still impressed with the Chargers. They barely lost. They were in it. They should have won. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? Right. And so I'm like, okay, that culture changing is still there with Harbaugh. Then, of course, they get their ass beat by the Buccaneers, but the Bucs are hot right now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to the well here. Chargers at home, big stage. Yeah. I'm going to go Chargers. I think this is going to be a tight game. I think Sean Payton, look, if I had a vote, I'd probably vote
for Mike Tomlin for Coach of the Year, seeing what he's done with the Steelers.
Okay.
And then obviously you could talk a ton of other coaches in the game. But honestly, I think Sean Payton's name needs to be involved too. The job he's done with the Broncos has been fantastic. They're built very similar to how the Patriots are built, i.e. their receivers suck. Outside of Cortland Sutton, they don't really have any receivers. And yet and still, and they don't have some high-octane run game either, or some star running back like a Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley. So what Sean Payton has been able to do with that offense, with a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix, who you brought up, has been absolutely masterful. Outside of a Super Bowl year with the Saints, I think this is some of the best coaching Sean Payton has ever done in his career. Think about that. That's a Hall of Fame career. I say all that to say I'm still rolling with Harbaugh. I just think he's changed the mentality. I think the Chargers are tougher. I like Herbert, even though he's banged up, but he's not Lamar Jackson, Natalie. He's not going to run everywhere. Just give him a clean pocket. He can dice you up. You know what? The gambler in me, I'll give you a score.
You're gonna go that far?
I'm gonna go Herbert, our guy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Herbert orchestrates a game-winning drive, dramatic style. Give me 29-26 Chargers
That tight. Wow.
field goal.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Game-winning field goal.
I was also going to bring up the Broncos defense. They lead the league in sacks right now, tied for fewest points allowed. You talk about giving Herbert a clean pocket. You've watched the Chargers a little more than I have, it seems. But, what do you think about that side of it? How do you think Herbert is going to do? I mean, he's got the ankle sprain. We're not going to talk too much about that. But, how mobile is he going to be? How's that going to look for him?
Well, I think, look, my score, 29-26 game, that's not the highest scoring. Nowadays, that's not an extremely high scoring game. So I think obviously you're going to get some scoring regardless of the defenses, but not a ton. I think because of the nature of the game itself, both teams being in the wild card standings right now, as it stands today, the Broncos and the Chargers would both be in for the last wild card spots if the playoffs were to start today. They don't, but if they were, they're both in, right?
Yeah.
So because of that, that's why I said to start, it feels already like a playoff game. It's like we're getting, bonus playoff football here mid-December instead of waiting until January to get it. This is a playoff game. Because of that, I think both defenses are elevated here. I know on paper the Broncos defense is better, but I would give a lot of credit to the Chargers defense in this spot as well. So I think scoring is going to be tough to come by, which is why it sounds like we're both leaning Herbert to have the better game. I think this is the kind of game where, not to say Bo Nix is going to go out and throw 3 or 4 interceptions, but certainly that rookie mistake, that one mistake could be the difference. And he's not a guy that turns the ball over, but that youthfulness could, and this is what you brought up, that could sort of rear its head in this game where Herbert doesn't have that issue. Herbert literally, Natalie, has had a whole career in the NFL where he's just like, can I just have a competent coach, please, for the love of God? Can I just have a smart, competent, non-moron head coach? If I can get that, I can win. Yeah. Voila. The football gods bless him with Jim Harbaugh, for God's sakes. So I think that's where this kind of game sort of plays. There's no margin for error, and because of that, I'm gonna err on the side, as great as Sean Payton is, I'm gonna err on the side of trusting Harbaugh and Herbert over Payton and Nix. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I can see that. And they had a shorter week of practice too, because they just, so how do you approach that? Obviously, it's the same thing. But physically, they're coming in, they're gonna run through their systems, they're gonna take, rep it out. But home field advantage too. So
I know
that's huge.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. As I kind of look at this wild card thing, these are gonna be playoff teams, Natalie. I'm willing to stamp that. You know why? The teams behind them, I don't trust any of these teams. I'm gonna just rattle off these teams.
Go ahead.
Colts. What are we talking about?
Right.
Dolphins. They can't play outside, Natalie. If it's cold, they lose. It's simple.
That's such a disadvantage for some teams, I feel like.
Yeah.
And that's it was funny. I was working a UNH football game, but it was a team from UT Martin or something from South who just hasn't played in the cold. And all the UNH football coaches, they're like, this is going to be good. They haven't played in the cold. they blew UNH
Can't
out of
do
the
it.
water.
It's unbelievable to me. Now to be fair,
Yep.
if you have to go to Miami, we've seen the Patriots struggle in Miami for years.
Very
and we
good point.
know because of Tom Brady's discipline, because of Bill Belichick's discipline for all those years, that it wasn't the Miami flu, if you're picking up what I'm putting down. They weren't out at the nightclubs at Fontainebleau the night before. That's not what they were doing. I think it lends itself to what we're saying. You go down there in that heat, and you start cramping up, and you're hot as hell, and you're sweating in places you didn't even know you could sweat, you're going to lose that game.
I can't do that, man.
You know what I mean? So the Dolphins, it's the same way when they go to the cold.
Yeah.
So the Colts you can't trust. Dolphins can't play outside. And the Bengals, I mean, Burrow and Chase is intriguing, but that defense can't stop you and me. You know what I
Right.
mean? And all we did was play high school sports, and they can't stop us. We're scoring touchdowns on that defense.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'm throwing it up to you, and you going to get it for touchdowns. So I don't trust the Bengals either. I think in the end, Natalie, the Broncos and the Chargers will be in the playoffs. I think I trust both of these teams, regardless of who wins this game.
Yeah.
I think they'll get in.
Yeah, and that'll be fun to see as well because they're both, and I'm excited. I love when the rookies are doing well. So Bo Nix, of course, he didn't have the greatest start, but he's had quite the wake up call in his rookie season. And to be on a team like that, coach like that, I think it's fun to see when a kid that age is coming into something that's promising and has some longevity in the postseason.
No doubt.